Syndication Made Easy with Vinney Chopra. I'm your co-host, Alicia DeBrell, and today, guys, we are very privileged to have one of Vinney's personal friends and colleague, Jean Trowbridge, on the show. So first of all, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and share. But Jean and Vinney, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Oh my gosh, it's so sunny. This is California. Look at this.
It's great, isn't it? It's
so nice, isn't it,
lovely.
Jean? I know I'm here near San Francisco. Glad to have you, Jean. Good morning. And you are in the Southern California. It's a sunny state. And God knows we need that sun to fight this virus, the coronavirus. Oh my gosh.
Vinney and I are practicing social distancing now. I'm down here in San Diego, so it's about 7.5 feet from San Francisco. So I think we'll be okay. Hey, Vinney, it's good to see you.
Oh, thank you, Jean. It's such a pleasure that you could come on, our podcast together, and I'm looking forward to really sharing, with my audiences, and I know you will too. What a great bond we have had. And how great things you have done for me. I really want to say, let me kind of introduce many of you guys who don't know Jean Trowbridge. Jean is a personality well known in USA, very well regarded, very well acclimated. He, as you will see in this interview, how he got started. He was a syndicator, and what a great, tremendous syndication attorney, and the business he has built. And he's helped me so much. And Jean, let me kind of introduce you formally. Jean Trowbridge is California licensed attorney, real estate broker, and author. He is the founding partner of the corporate securities law firm of Trowbridge Sidoti LLP. Prior to becoming an attorney, he was a real estate syndicator himself. And he developed numerous mini storage facilities using money from private investors like you and I, everybody there. Jean and his partners provide securities offering documents and advice for seeking to do Regulation D, as in David, D, rule number 506. Many of you are very familiar. 506 offerings, A, B, and C, all that. B and C, actually A is also there, we hardly use A. And then crowdfunding offerings, Regulation A offerings, and also public offerings. Jean, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Well, thanks, Vinney. So in that, the interesting thing about that introduction is I came out of college and I went right into commercial real estate as a broker. And then I realized I bought a couple properties for myself, and maybe like you did, I bought a property with some friends, and I like the idea of managing the properties with my friends. I like the idea of managing my friends' money, and I realized that people were in need of someone to do this. And this was way back in the 70s in Minnesota. So in 79, I moved to California with my family and decided I'd become a full-time syndicator. Mm-hmm. So I did that for about 15 years. And then as probably Alicia, as a midlife crisis, I decided I'd go to law school when I was 45. And the only reason I went to law school is I wanted to get out of the syndication business. Maybe we'll talk about this a little later, because the care and maintenance of partners was getting to me at that time. In my craziest year, we sent out about 1,700 K1s. Oh. And it was a busy time. So I went to law school, 2 kids at home in school and my wife working. And I went to law school and passed the California bar. And about 2001, I decided I would just devote my attention to my law practice. And Vinney, I bet it was about 2008. I'm guessing it was 2008. I met you at a conference where I was a guest speaker for someone, and you were in the audience.
Yes.
And it's now 2020, and we've had this strong relationship ever since. Isn't that funny?
It's so
Not funny, but it's
strong.
great, right?
I want to really thank you, Gene. You and I mean, you how much you have mentored me, and I really owe a lot because I started in this business in the crash. We are going through a crash right now, recession, actually 2020, and it's ironical. 12 years back, 2007 and 8 was the time when I was learning. I didn't know about NOI or LOI or anything, and then I met you, and we were able to buy like 14 units for $180,000. That was the first one. Then we got the 109 units. That's the one you syndicated for me. And we started the healthy relationship. And it was just a wonderful time in my life when we got going, and we just did so many syndication offerings together. I mean, you were the one. Yeah.
So, Vinney, how many units do you control now?
It's like from 14 units, let's just shift it to 4,100
Wow.
units, and in under our management, because we've been owning and managing vertically $330 million, Gene.
That's great. So how many investors are you representing today?
You're not going to believe it. I started from zero, Gene. I have only 168 investors total.
That's very good.
168.
So when I told you I left, we had this 1,700 K1s, and that represented about 850 investors.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So if you were to ask me why I left the syndication business, I would say that the care and maintenance of investors wore me down.
Sure.
But that was then. Today, it's a whole new business, so to speak. We have multiple companies who will do the back office work.
Correct.
For a syndicator like I was. Nice. If those companies had been in existence, I might have kept on syndicating because I had a great marketing arm. I raised all my money through the broker-dealer network, Vinney.
Yes.
I was more of a wholesaler to financial reps than I was a retail salesman to investors, and it was just strong. But I got to a point that I had to grow, and that would have meant more office space, more people. And I came home to my wife one day at noon, Vinney, you'll love this, and sitting around the kitchen table where all the great decisions of life are met, I said, I'm through with this. I've always wanted to go to law school, and I've got 6 or 7 years of income coming in from this business.
Yep.
This would be the time to do it. And she says, "You're crazy." And I said, "Sure, let's start tomorrow." So that's where. So we've come up. I will tell you, my syndication practice in 2008 was relatively small. There's no doubt about that. Today, it's quite a bit bigger. You were doing your first deal, and today you've done a lot more business. So we've just come up like this together, and so it's great to share this. Maybe no one who's listening cares about this, but I'm thrilled you and I are talking about this.
Gene, I'm so proud where you have also grown. I mean, from getting into that field and then coming out as a syndicator, but you have helped so many of us around the country with your affiliations, your companies, your book. Oh my gosh, just a tremendous book you wrote. And I know in your seminars.
This book?
There it is. Yay, there it is. That's right, guys.
This book, it's a whole new business. And at the end, Alicia's going to tell everyone who's watching this how they can get a free PDF copy of this. I'd be happy to provide it for you.
Oh,
Where's your book, Vinney?
Oh my gosh.
Your bestseller book.
Somewhere here too.
There it is.
Thank you so much, Gene. It took me 2 years to write it, but I became international top seller in 2 months. And I want to thank Alicia because she's my promoter, my publisher, and the marketer. Just a wonderful lady. And she's my co-host also on my 2 podcasts every week, and also doing a lot of things together. My partner, my GP partner, also raising money. She's got lots of 15,000 actually lists on her own in real estate. So she's a accomplished young lady.
Great.
Yeah. But no, our book, thank you for, guys, I mean, you want to do well in life. The way which I got myself going from that $180,000 one small apartment to 4,100 unit, it was the power of syndication. It was the power of pooling money together from your family, friends, and so forth. That's what this show is about. And we're going to talk Gene to give us some golden nuggets. So
one more thing I'm going to pat you on the back for. Don't you have a mastermind group?
I do. As a matter of fact, Gene, I've been thinking, and, I've been doing it for about 4 or 5 years now. I don't charge 40, 50,000 like a lot of other coaches, because that's not what I want to make. I'm making my millions in buying and selling properties. I've done 28 syndications. When I do one acquisition fee, I get $400,000 or $1 million. Last year, I got the biggest payoff in one day of $1,038,000 was my acquisition fee for just putting the $52 million deal together. Then I got another $35 million one in December. So that was another paycheck of $700,000. So I am not making money in education, but I want to give so much knowledge to a lot of people to do. Yeah.
But you do believe, like I believe, in education-based marketing.
Totally.
My whole career is education-based marketing. Now, Vinney, my people are going to watch this video.
Yes.
You need to tell how my people can learn about your mastermind.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gene. You're so kind. The very easy way is to check me out at my vinneychopra.com, VINNEY, vinneychopra.com. Just Google me, YouTube me, or whatever you will see.
That in the show notes.
Then you could even send the word learn, text the word LEARN, learn, to 474747. That's it. 474747. And then you can apply for being in my mastermind, because we don't take everybody. We only need the people who want to make a difference, who really want to learn the business of syndication and grow their business.
Great. Well, I know I have clients who come from you and come from your mastermind, and I appreciate it. So, Alicia, do you think we've done enough patting each other on the back?
Yes, actually.
Mutual. Should we get into some education stuff for the viewers, Vinney?
Well, since I have both, I would like to ask this question, but get different answers, get answers from both of you on it. And that is, where do you see the future of syndication going for 2020?
Aha.
Just for 2020, okay. Because there's another question. What about after this?
Yes.
Vinney, go right ahead, because you have a different viewpoint than I do, Vinney.
So please go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. That was good. I think we're going to have a short-term issue here with the virus. What I'm finding in the last 2 weeks is lenders maybe changing their mind about their willingness to loan in the local communities. I don't think that's a Fannie and Freddie issue. I think that's a local bank. And Vinney, you may well know that a lot of our first-time syndicators get money from regional and local banks, and they may very well pull in their horns a little bit. And this morning, I had a call from probably my third most prolific syndicator who wanted to review the capital call provisions on his documents.
Oh, wow.
And different syndicators started out with different capital call provisions. I've written documents where there's absolutely no possibility of a capital call unless you amend the operating agreement. And then I've written documents where the manager can make a mandatory capital call, and if you don't contribute, there's some penalty for you. So it's a whole range. So I was driving down to the office, and Michael called me, and I said, well, Michael, as I do with so many people who call me and ask me these questions, have you read your documents? And I said, I'm in the car, so I haven't, but I have a feeling what your document says. So let me call you back tomorrow when we both had a chance to read the document and see what it says. You can always change. Yeah. You can always amend an operating agreement, but let's read it and what it says. Many investors, I think, and Vinney, you can tell me if I'm wrong, many investors cringe at a mandatory capital call.
Totally, Gene. I've never done it. I've never done it. I'll never do it. And again, because maybe the cash position is strong in my companies and mine, so that, sometimes I've given short-term loans without interest either, by the way, even though in the paperwork it says I could charge up to 8% or whatever, never charged it. But this way, having a strong syndicator who has good cash position, it's a good thing. Because
yes, an investor should do their due diligence on that before they invest. This particular person, and we're only talking multifamily. Yeah. I'm going to keep my conversation to the deals we do, not racehorses and all that other stuff. Multifamily. Totally. Looking for maybe a 4 or 5 month, 20 or 30% drop in revenue collection. And then they have that question, which brings me to something you said, and I'm glad you said it. In our offering agreements, in the conflict of interest section, we talk about the fact that Vinney Chopra may have a lot of money. Your syndication may need some money. Vinney may not help you. Vinney can help this syndication over there.
I see.
He has no obligation to help your deal. He has no obligation to help anyone's deal, and he can pick and choose who he helps. When I was a syndicator twice in the 20 years, I refinanced my house. I had a free and clear house to start with. I refinanced my house, pulled money, and helped a particular fund.
I see.
When I got my money back, a couple years later, I refinanced and helped another fund, but I didn't spread it across the board. I didn't have to. Sure. So a well-drafted document tells the investor and the syndicator that could be an issue. What do you think about that?
No, totally, Gene. I mean, to be very truthful, I have always advocated with my students, my mentor, my mastermind group. Some people ask me, can I afford to pay the syndication fee, offering memorandum fee? I said, that's the one document that you cannot afford not to pay for. And that is so important because each document is different. Never copy, paste, or this and that. That's the worst thing anybody could do. Anybody. Then I tell them too, I have never paid for the legal fee. They say, what? You mean you have never paid for it? I say, yeah, I raised the money. It's in the underwriting. The legal fee is there and it's raised from the investors, you know?
Well, we charge up front, as you know, because we're not in the contingency business.
No, not at all.
Of you being successful. But we do have an interesting thing in our fee agreement that says if we're right the day before closing, we have all of your documents, everything is ready, and for one reason or another it doesn't close, we've got a set of documents you've paid for. Find another deal, we'll pick up the pen, and we'll just move forward. Doesn't cost you another penny. Sure. Not every attorney does that, but as having been a syndicator, which you said earlier, I learned a lot of things about how I wanted to be treated as a client of a syndication attorney. Yes. And a lot of those things are in my documents.
I love that. Love that. Gene, let me ask you a question. And a lot of listeners and watchers, our videos, they will be asking, could you kind of tell us more about crowdfunding, what it is, and then how it can be used in our syndication?
Sure. And then I don't want to leave this first topic. I'll come back to it if you would, because I want to know from a syndicator's viewpoint, when you think you're going to do your next deal in 2020, just your overall horizon. But let's clear up this crowdfunding thing right now.
Okay.
Up until 2 years ago, My website was syndicationlawyers.com.
Yep.
It had been syndicationlawyers.com since 2008
Yeah.
because that's what I did, pooling of money from other people.
Mm-hmm.
But the buzz is crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed the name, but I didn't change anything I'm doing. Crowdfunding is just a word that we find in the lexicon today. That's a hot word. You know, there's crowdfunding platforms, and what do they do?
Yep.
506C. There's crowdfunding portals. What do? They do exactly the same thing. So when I do workshops, which I haven't done in a while, and I'm not doing this year, I think we do that right up front. We try to clear up the thing that these are synonyms. Syndication. What's a syndication? Pooling money from other people.
Yep.
Fine. I get that question all the time. Most asked question. Gene, I want to raise money from 5 or 6 people, but I don't want it to be a syndication.
Right.
I don't want it to be crowdfunding.
Okay.
Well, those are bad questions because it is syndication. And if you want to call it crowdfunding, you can. Your question is, I don't want it to be a security.
Yeah.
That's the question. And let's talk about that. And then I'm on my way.
Surely. And you taught me so well, syndication is if one party is entrusting you and they're giving you the money and you have the fiduciary responsibility to that party and you're making the decisions for the profitability of the business.
Can we all say it together? That is a security.
Syndication. Yes, so true. And I just want our audience to catch that fever, and that's why I wrote that book. Syndication is the word. It's not a bad word. I mean, a lot of people say, I'll do joint venture, I'll do this. TIC also, tenants in common. My gosh, all the rules and regulations say in TIC, every single person has to be actively involved daily operation of the business.
We came up through that business, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, right until about 2009, that business collapsed because of the CMBS loans. But man, we did a lot of that, and I still get that. I think we took this question off of the list for today, but I still get that question every month. Someone calls and says, we put a deal together 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's happened to every deal that was put together 5 years ago? They got all sorts of gain. They've got all sorts of equity. We want to take that and exchange into another property. But I've got an investor or two with $500, $600, $1 million who'd like to do it with us so we can get a bigger property.
Right.
The only way you can do that is the LLC that's exchanging is a TIC. The new investor is a TIC, and they go together, and that's fraught with trouble, but we explain that. So it's very popular today, and I don't think values of real estate are crashing like the stock market did. No. So I think we're still going to have a lot of people with a lot of gain that are going to want to defer it through 1031, and we still have that issue. That would be a great topic for a discussion, an individual discussion, and another 20 years when you want to interview me again, we'll do that.
No,
okay?
Next week actually, Gene. Come on, we are having some
that would be a great topic. Sure, but anyhow, tell me, what's on your horizon? Would you like to syndicate a deal this year if you found one?
Oh, totally. Actually, I've been promoting and saying to my my friends and investors that I'm going to buy 200 million this year alone. I'm at 330 million. And I am ready. My investors, I've sold so many of my syndications, by the way, and given them tremendous returns because I bought them at the right place. 28 syndications I've done. And the good part is I just got an offer. I'm writing it right there, 19,800,000 from a group yesterday. They own 3.6 billion, a New York group who wants to buy my property in Atlanta. I paid only $12,224,000 April of 2017, but I bought it in the nice place.
Good.
And it's townhouses, brick, beautiful, everything. So there are 3 offers on the table. With the coronavirus going on right now, they're still offering me money, right? And pretty good, $7 million increase. Not bad at all in just 3 years. So my investors are making so much money.
Yeah.
They're knocking on my door, Gene. Where is the next place? You know, they'll put.
Well, I think so. I think, Vinney, for years, I've been hearing people say, well, you don't want to be in the stock market. You don't want to be in the stock market. Well, if you weren't in the stock market in the last 4 or 5, 6 years, you made a mistake. Okay.
Yes.
But the reason they say that is someday it's going to go boop. Well, someday came, and now a lot of that money is going to seek safety for a while. So there's money out there. They've sold their positions. They may not have quite as much as they did before from their stock. They're going to want to go to real estate. So Alicia's question, what do you think for 2020? I think for the next 6 months, there's going to be some grumbling and upset stomachs and all this stuff about it. But I think long term, and we've been through it all. I mean, I started doing this in 79, so I've been through 81 and 86 and 92. I've been through all of them. Sure. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. The world just gets sick. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. But generally, if I said to you, Vinney, if you'd never sold anything you ever bought, wouldn't you be thrilled? And yes, that's how I learned. How did I learn about this business? I went to a seminar in 1977, the National Association of Realtors. 2 people talked about retirement plan for residential real estate people. And I thought, okay, they're going to tell me about stocks and they're going to tell me about this. And what their plan was is you as a residential agent go out and find an investor and buy 1/2 of a house with an investor who buys the other half. Do that every year for 20 years and never sell anything.
Oh, yes.
I wish I'd done that. So that sounds good.
Hindsight 2020, right?
And I'm in Minnesota at the time, and you could buy a house for $36,000. So how much is 1/2 of the equity you need for that for your commission? Probably the equity was less than the commission, and I didn't do that. But that would have been, and I didn't know. That's where I thought about the concept of syndication. Sure. That's the first time I'd heard the word as it related to real estate. And I said, God. And within 2 months, I bought a 7-unit apartment building with 4 guys I went to college with. And the rest is history.
You asked also, and Alicia asked, like, what I see about purchasing. One thing which is really happening in our country is the silver tsunami. And I've been thinking and planning and observing how 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day, every single day in USA. And it's going to be 2 billion of us. I'm a senior. I'm 67. This year, I'll be 68 coming up in August. And, the good part is my passion right now is to share this education with the seniors, how they could invest in senior dwellings. Right now, there is a big shortage of it in USA. Sure. Assisted living, memory care, pathetic situations out there, smelly, bad, old, and there are slumlords in that field. And what I've done is I've joined a partner, by the way, and we are opening up our assisted living, the 17th one in Cape Coral, Florida. And we are fully occupied. We are not even open yet. We have sold all the rooms. It's a 80-unit property, single family, single story and everything, Gene. So that's what we are doing. I'm doing 2 syndications as we speak in the coronavirus, where we'll be building in Punta Gorda. We got the permits and everything, and Williamsburg, Virginia right now. So then we got 4 more locations coming up, Well,
going into the near future, I think my clients and your clients, your investors, are going to end up to be happy that we're in multifamily
Yeah.
There may not be the same experience if you're in retail or industrial, but at least for the short term, everyone needs a place to live. So
Totally. Alicia, yeah, please. I know. Sorry, I've been asking a lot of questions.
No, it's fine. I love the education, so I enjoy listening to you guys go back and forth. And I apologize about earlier. My daughter walked in, and
Oh no, everybody's got their children at home, and I was just even telling that maybe we should do the interview together with
yes,
Jean also.
maybe tomorrow I'll bring her on the show with me, and we'll have her interview you.
I would like to say, Jean, I know a lot of people always say, what can I advertise? What can I speak? What can I put on my website? Could you give us some insight to the rules and regulations of, SEC rules and to be compliant,
I bet that's the question you were going to ask, Alicia, right?
Yes, you stole it from me.
Yeah. Simply, there are two ways to do a Regulation D offering under Rule 506.
Sure.
One way is where you can talk to and raise money from people with whom you have a pre-existing relationship. And what does that mean? That means that in my world, I say, when you sign the fee agreement with me, your database freezes for that offering. Everyone who's in your database up to that point, we can make a claim you have a pre-existing relationship with them. Now, substantive is another word that's important. Just because they're in your database isn't quite enough, but pre-existing and substantive, perfect.
Yes.
Now, if you want to build your database and continue to do your database, you can do that, but you put them at the end of your database and they're not available to invest in this deal. Unless you go 506C,
yes,
which says, hey, advertise, bring in new people. Your database never freezes. We don't care. You don't even have to have a substantive relationship with them. Just go out and advertise and bring in investors. And the issue you're asking me about social media is advertising.
Yeah.
Okay. So unless you do it very carefully, you're off into the advertising world, which limits you to taking only accredited investors.
Right.
That's all you can do. But over here, where most of us, including you, do our marketing, we do it to people that are in our database that we know.
Correct.
Right? I don't believe you probably have done a 506C, have you?
No, never. Actually, I tried to do one. I have an open fund right now. There is a website out there, and I got money into it, but somehow my investors could never picture how their positions will go down as I buy a new property and a new property in the fund.
Oh, that would have been a blind pool too.
Yeah, blind pool.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So you're just like everyone else. The newest statistics that are out.
Yeah.
We're talking inside baseball here. The new statistics that are out from July of 18 to June of 19, the year that the most current statistics are, is that Regulation D, Rule 506, was responsible for $1.7 trillion of money raised. Now, that's not all real estate, but that's more money than was raised on the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
And Reg D is a private placement rule, 506B and 506C, which allows advertising. 93% of the money is raised the way you raise it, from your existing investors.
506.
506B, because you know them. You don't need new investors. They have plenty of money. And to think you can put a website out there, advertise your deal, and have people that don't know you send you $300,000 is politely wishful thinking.
Yeah, wishful thing. You got it. Exactly.
And unless you go to a crowdfunding platform like CrowdStreet, I'm going to use that name. We send a lot of deals to CrowdStreet. They're in the business of developing a database of 20, 30,000 accredited investors. They don't really underwrite the deals, but there are only certain deals that get on their database. So if I came home at night, put on my slippers, and poured myself a glass of wine and sat at my computer and looked at what new investments were out there today, I might see 10 or 15. It's like an MLS. It's like an MLS of 506C offerings that are only available to people like me who are accredited. And that's the beauty of the Jobs Act, Vinney. When I was syndicating, couldn't advertise. Okay, so I had a limited number of accredited investors who knew about me.
Yep.
I couldn't really advertise. And then accredited investors who were out there had a limited number of Gene Trowbridges. Okay, so it wasn't very conducive to capital formation. So the Jobs Act came along and said, why don't we let Gene Trowbridge talk to every accredited investor there is? And why don't we let every accredited investor know about Gene Trowbridge's and Vinney Chopra's offers and 15 other people who are making offers.
Sure.
And so that's the plan. I think the sponsors are holding back on making 506C very, very popular. I know there's no shortage of money. Almost every deal that we work on gets fully funded. So we don't need to go to 506. And there's one other thing, and then we can move on with this. Your investors who are accredited are used to just checking the box, right? That's all they have to do on your subscription agreement.
Exactly.
Check the box.
Yeah.
Now, if I was one of those investors and you came to me and said, Gene, we're going to do it differently this year. We need your last 2 years 1040. We need a financial statement. We need a letter from your, and I'd say, what the hell are you doing, Vinney?
Exactly.
You know, I'm not going to do that. So there's a resistance from the accredited investor. I just want to check the box and send you a check.
So true, Gene, because in 506C, we have to verify. And like we send them to verifyinvestor.com and things like that. So right. We cannot take their word for it. We have to make sure they are fully
because we don't know them.
Yeah.
If I came to you in a 506B and checked the box that I was accredited, you would know me and you would know, well, that's ridiculous, Gene. You're not accredited. I know you well enough for that. Or you'd say, okay. But in a 506C, you don't have any idea who I am. Here comes the ACH deposit. You don't know who it's from. So we need
So true. Gene,
did we answer that okay, Alicia?
Yeah, no, actually, Gene, I did want to ask you, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see, syndicators making,
Beautiful question.
Oh, God. I've got a whole presentation on that, but let's not go through all that. Over my time, okay, and then I'm going to come back with what I see them doing today that's very bothersome. But over my time, generally, the mistakes I see syndicators making is thinking they always have to have a deal on the street.
Oh.
Okay.
When you're not syndicating, one of your fears is your investors are looking at other people's deals and they're going to invest in other people's deals and you're going to lose that money.
Yep.
So that is a mistake right from the Gene Trowbridge don't do this again playbook, okay? That was a mistake.
So it's like FOMO, right?
Yeah, you just can't do that. Another thing I think that overall people make mistakes is they don't give themselves enough time to raise money.
Yeah.
I don't care if all your investors say they've got the money and they're fine. 2 months later, you go and ask them for the check. Someone's in Italy, someone's daughter decided to get married and they need the money for the wedding, and or they need to open a new IRA account, and nothing comes quickly when you go and ask for money. As a lawyer, one of my big concerns is the syndicators don't read their documents. Yeah. By the time I get the syndicator their documents, they're well in the fervor and the heat and the passion of raising money. So why read the document? Well, Vinny, you understand that. You can't do that. So those are big things. But what I see today in the marketplace is syndicators like Vinney asking other people to raise money for them and agreeing to pay people for raising money. You can't do that.
Subject. We should talk about that, Gene.
We will. The second thing I see today that's like that is syndicators overfunding the raise with extra money so they can make a distribution at the end of the first quarter before the property starts earning anything. I'll talk about that. And then number 3, using reserves.
Yes.
I guess there's 4 mistakes. Using reserves to make distributions, which I think is going to happen today. I think we need to worry about that. And the other thing is the syndicator. Vinney, you're the syndicator. I come to you and I say, I need liquidity. And you say, that's fine. I'm going to go find someone. And, I think Alicia would like to buy your deal. So you arrange the sale of my security with Alicia. No. You can sell your own security. You can sell it to me because you made it. You're an issuer, right? For sale by owner. But now it's my security. You can't sell it to Alicia. That's the beginning of a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the first thing. There's a big SEC action out there, and Vinney, I'm sure you know about it right now. One of our cohorts is out there and has been making a practice over the last couple of years of getting teams of people to help raise money for their syndication with letter agreements and financial compensation. That is a violation of the Securities Act of 34. Those people are acting as unlicensed broker-dealers, and huge penalties for them. The investors can sue them because they broke the law. The SEC can fine them. The investors can go after them and say, you didn't have a license to sell me this security. I want my money back, and I'm coming to you for my money. I don't need the syndicator. He may not have any money. For the rescission rights, I want you to pay me back. Very, very difficult. And in the last 2 months, there's all sorts of cease and desist letters flowing around this one company. The second thing is just simply, you raise an extra $100,000 and you start sending distributions at the end of the quarter to investors. That's supposed to be a return on their money. Is that what a distribution is? You run the business, you make money, and you send them a return on the money. But what are you sending? You're sending them a return of their money. Yes. Fraud. That is fraud.
That's fraud. Wow.
That's fraud. You can't do that. And now I'm worried about, so here's my call this morning. Let's talk about capital calls, okay?
Right.
How are your reserves? Well, we got plenty of reserves, but, we might burn through those reserves. I said, okay, don't burn through them making distributions.
Right.
The first thing, and once again, that's fraud.
Yeah.
Because it's their money, and you're saying you earn 6% cash on cash. That's wrong. Plus, what are the reserves for, Vinney? They're to replace the air conditioning units.
Exactly.
And when it's time to replace the air conditioning units, you don't have any money.
Exactly. Look at that.
There goes your deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are really the 3 big issues: paying other people, raising money to make initial distributions, and then digging into reserves to make distributions as time gets tough. You maybe haven't been in this situation, but like I said, I came through the mid-'80s and the early '90s as a syndicator. And I know that when I went to my investors and said, okay, we can do this or this, and this is, let's delay the distribution and build up our reserves.
So
times are tough. They say, fine, we don't need that $18.20. Save it, keep the property. It's the return of their capital, Vinney, that's I think a primary importance to them.
Totally. So true, Gene. And I can echo with you, because in my last 12 years, we have deferred, the cash flow and told the investors the right thing. It's the right thing. You got to be transparent. You need to be totally accountable. You got to tell the good, the bad, the ugly. And I do like my seminars, live seminars, every quarter on the quarter. I've done it for 12 years. We record them, go to meeting and this now on Zoom. And then those investors who are there, they can ask me any question. They can ask for any bids, any invoices, any bank accounts. I mean, anything in our whole company operation. It's totally transparent. My accounting department is amazing with 4 full-time people, which is really, very heart of the operation.
Well, you have to have that with your business. Right?
Huge. And then also, after I buy the property to close on it, I do 3 seminars every month. One to go over the closing statement and explaining to them and how it has happened and who are the staff we hired, their pictures. So bringing the property to the investor is so important, and sharing with them what we have done with the curb appeal and the business plan, what we started doing, those kind of things that endears them to see they can sleep good at night. That's so important. If they gave me 500, people are giving me 700,000 now. Some families are giving me 700, 500, 700. And we do tier investing also. Maybe you do it or your clients do it. In other words, 100,000 to 199, they get paid 7%.
Okay.
But from 200 to 499, they get 8%.
Sure.
From 500 plus 9%.
Well, most of your investors, I would imagine, aren't counting on that quarterly check to buy groceries. But there are syndicators out there who have a syndication network of, let's say, retired people.
Yeah.
They're what I call social syndicators. They're going to raise all their money from a certain group of people, and the economic needs that those people have is for current cash flow. So they buy things like apartment buildings that do current cash flow. Well, now you've got a different issue. But if your investors are investing with money that isn't necessary for them to make a living, and you ask them to vote, they're going to tell you to keep the money and protect the property every time.
So very true. So very true. But can we dig a little bit deeper into that? Again, we can have some general partners who are learning, who are underwriting, who are researching, and they're being a part of your company, like Monil Investment Group in my case. And they're also helping to raise money with their family, friends, and circle, but they are involved in a lot of other things. Just raising money is not one of the things. Everybody in the general partnership raises money, or that's
I think that's fine. The analogy is for by owner. As long as who's selling the security fits in the definition of selling their own securities, we call them issuers. As long as everyone fits the definition of issuer and no one gets compensated based on how much they raise, they make it a share of the deal.
Yeah.
But it's not dependent upon how much they raise. Right. Then they're okay. Now, I don't know how many people you have, but I have seen in the last year a company came to me and they were doing this, and their general partner list was 18 people.
No way. Oh my God.
And I said, okay, what are the 18 job descriptions?
Yeah. Exactly.
I said, everyone takes a business risk. I don't care what you want to do for a business risk. You do what you want. But I'm telling you, that's not only a business risk for you, the syndicator, but as I alluded to earlier, the person who's raising money and doesn't have the license and doing it wrong is undertaking an absolutely terrific risk in return for the small amount of money they'd make anyhow. Don't do that.
Don't.
My best legal advice, don't do that.
Thank you, Gene. No, thank you so much. I mean, this is so much needed in USA and across the world. I think, that we need to adhere by the laws of the SEC and everything.
Right.
That's why this.
Because all these statutes are criminal.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Securities Act is a criminal statute. If the SEC goes after you, you could end up to jail. My wife said to me once, why would anyone invest with a guy whose last name was Made Off?
Oh, no. He made off.
Which he did, right? Made off. He did. Okay.
What's on your mind, Alicia? What question do you have?
I do. I have a couple. I was listening. I enjoy listening to you guys go back and forth. So one thing, I guess, for Gene, can you maybe give us an example? Well, you kind of actually already did about, a syndicator who's done things that you have to go in and fix the problem. Do you find a lot of success when somebody comes to you, they already have a problem? Do you deal with those types of clients?
Sure. I deal with it all the time. And you know what? It's too late. It's generally too late. You just have to go with it. And Vinney, you and I, or at least you heard this from me in the past, we talk about Reg D as an exemption and 506 as an exemption and all this. There are two other exemptions. The good deal exemption.
Yes.
You can do a lot of things wrong, and as long as your projections are met, no one's going to complain, okay? Yeah. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Or the under the radar exemption. The first deal you did was how many units? The first deal?
Oh, the very first syndication was 109 units. Yeah.
Oh, no, but before that, you did it 14 units.
14 units for 180,000, but it was not a syndication. It was just like putting money together. That's it.
With other investors.
That's right.
Yeah, so Vinney, that deal turned out to be done under the good deal exemption.
You got it.
Under the radar exemption, because at the time you didn't really know.
Yeah.
So it worked, so forget about it, right? But the good deal and the under the radar exemption are valuable exemptions. But what I have found over my years, and I'm going to talk about my syndication, well, even my client's business, it's not so much the real estate that's the issue, the investors.
Yes.
You have 168 investors, and that's telling me that almost every year, one of your investors is going to face some sort of a problem, and they're going to come to Uncle Smile Vinney, and they're going to ask for liquidity. They're going to ask for help. So it's a people. Yeah. It's more than just a real estate business. When I had 850 investors, it was a people managing business. And I just did a webinar, Vinney, on why you need an entity with more than one person to be the managing member. And you heard me preach on that many, many years ago. We just had a deal in out of New York City. A guy came to me and he was going to buy a 600-unit mobile home park. We do a lot of business in mobile home parks, Vinney, in Louisiana. And I said, well, who is going to be in the manager group with you? And he said, no one. And I said, no, I'm going to advise you not to do that. And I'm pretty strong about that. Maybe there's another attorney I could refer you to. But I think that's too risky for the investors. Guy's 50 years old, something like that. So he picked some guy out of his office at 26. 4 months after he closed the deal, before the coronavirus, he came down with pneumonia and was dead in 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing changed. There wasn't a hiccup. The manager entity had 2 people.
Right.
The youngster took over. Now the youngster made a fortune, right? It was a 90-10 split. Now he's the only one. So that's good. And the investors were, because the investors would be worried. The investors were fine with it. And you go, I mean, I've had sponsors who've hit their head on rocks skiing and have become quadriplegics. I've had sponsors who've been in the midst of nasty divorces, gone to jail, gone bankrupt. And each one of those cases was devastating to the investors because there was only one person.
Wow.
That was way back then. I don't do that. I just don't do that anymore.
Oh.
And Vinney, when people call me and say, will you look at these documents? Will you see if this is a good deal? I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will ask them one question. Tell me who the manager is.
Yes.
Well, it's Gene Trowbridge. And who else?
Yeah.
No one. Don't invest.
Oh,
Don't do that.
smart.
So you've got a whole company.
Yes.
You've got a whole company doing this. Your investors are protected through continuity.
Totally.
And that's the number one question. For your people who are listening, these are the questions they should ask a sponsor. Number one is, I give you my money, Vinney. What happens if something happens to you?
Yes.
You better have an answer. Number two, Vinney, have you done this before? Well, you got to get your first one done so you can say, hell yes.
Yes.
And then number three, Vinney, is this a good deal? Enough? Maybe you'll put some of your own money in it?
Yes.
And number four, Vinney, if something goes wrong with me, are there provisions that I can get my money out?
Right.
And as the sponsor, you better know those questions are coming. Don't they come? Aren't those the questions you get asked?
You actually, I would like to say that, Gene, I've been keeping key man's insurance on me for several $1 million.
Sure.
Paying $30,000 a year premium. $30,000.
That's not necessarily to give everyone their money back. That's to hire people to replace you.
Exactly.
I did the same thing. I used to start taking a policy on each entity.
Yeah.
And I finally just took one policy and made it payable to the managing member, which was a corporation in my world,
Sure.
and a couple shareholders and a board of directors. And if something happened to me, death,
Yes.
they'd have money. Many things happen that aren't death.
Yeah.
So and that key man insurance won't help you. You need live bodies,
Live bodies. So true.
which you have.
Having a whole team of
Right.
people. You're so right about it. And that's what has really been a good thing for my investors, because they ask me very good questions. Most of my clientele is attorneys, doctors, Silicon Valley professionals, directors, like that. So fortunately,
Sophisticated.
they have been telling their children, their uncle, their aunts. So I've had a whole 168 is like a family. It's like a Monil family,
Well, let's get personal right now, okay?
Uh-huh.
What are your plans on retirement?
I retired 5 years back from my motivation speaking.
This is retirement.
And my wife says you are more busy and more passionate right now. I'm 67, Jane. I am going to go on for another 12 to 13 years. Easy.
Okay.
Easy. I want to be. And, when I see our Mr. Fuchsia, right? From NIH, I'm so excited about him. Look at his thinking, his everything and what he's doing. And people are really respecting that. And that's what I want. That's my vision, that people respect me as I'm helping them to grow and develop. And also not only the young investors, but also my seniors who are going to be needing a lifestyle. And I can keep on purchasing great assets to give them great returns, and really, really getting into senior living space, adult living, senior living, ground up. That's the other thing, which has less maintenance, less problems, class A, and we are able to really we just have, just very exciting. My whole life has changed, and writing some books. My new book is coming. Positivity Brings Profitability is my next book. Enthusiasm, there's a book coming on that one, because
Great.
That's what I've lived my life with,
Well, I'm a little older than you. I will be 70.
years.
I will be 72 in the middle of next month.
Oh,
And I have a plan. I have partners.
yes.
And my name, I think, will be on the sign for a long time, even after I kind of slow down. I'd like to slow down on the day-to-day, going out and giving live presentations and traveling and all that, someone asked me in another interview I did, they said, what's most important to you in your life right now? And they asked me this question last year, and they asked me this year, and I gave them the same answer, is how do I develop the ability to spend more time with my wife?
So true.
That's the number one thing I have. And so in order to do the more time with her, I have to do the less time with someone else. We will have our 48th anniversary is coming up. And it's been a great life, as Jimmy Buffett says, some of it's magic and some of it's tragic. But I've had a good life all the way. And we're both healthy. She's just a couple years older than I am. And we're moving on, and we just need to do that.
That's so wonderful. So wonderful. I'm so glad you shared that. It's our 40th anniversary, 40. We are so fabulous. We are blessed, and God has been really great with 2 children. I know your family's strong. Neil and Monica are doing well. Monica is actually taken over in our business, and she's making decisions like the CEO, and I've also started some new companies too. I didn't mention it to you in cloud defense, a startup company, Oxygen.VIP. That's a very good company with commercial, where apartments we can buy and close within 14, 15 days. That's a new company also.
That's wonderful.
And then also branding, how to build the marketing brand from 2020 to 2030. That's my other company that I've also started along with Monil Investment, Monil Management. So God has been good. I just look forward to every morning getting up and, making a difference in the lives of everybody. And
so Alicia, this sounds like a good ending, doesn't it?
No, I will. Before we go anywhere, though,
talk about your book.
We could go on for the next 12 hours, but people are falling asleep. It's
been such a pleasure to hang out with you, and let's do it again. Please do show that book again. We want to tell all our friends, yours and ours, to get a PDF copy.
Yes.
There'll be a link down below. And then also we'll be sending.
We'll let Alicia give the instructions so it really works. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Vinney, you go a little bit above your pay grade. Let her do that.
Look, guys, you'll be able to get all of the information for both books, both Vinney and Jean's book. It'll be here in the show notes below, and I will make sure I have a link there where you can go ahead and download a copy of Jean's book. But Jean, before we go, I do want to ask if somebody wanted to get a hold of you.
Yes.
What is the best way to do that?
Okay. And during this time where we're all working virtual, I'll give you my direct line in my virtual office, 949-855-8399. 949-855-8399.
Thank you,
Alicia.
So much.
Yes.
Thank you, Vinney.
It's a pleasure to reach me also in the remote office. I'd love to give you the text number, 925-766-3518. Please text me. My team will get back to you. And also, we would love to give you the Kindle edition of my book. If you just email John, my VP of the Academy, John at vinneychopra.com. You can always see me over there on the social media all over the place and see my, investing with the seniors, and our new websites are opening up and all that. But thank you, Jean. I really want to take this time to thank you immensely how much you have helped me in my career. And I'm who I am today. Totally because of your input, your mentor.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. No, Vinney, it's been a true pleasure. And I will reach out to you somewhere a little bit later, because I think there's a topic or two we could delve into a little more more detailed if your viewers
I really would like to.
Okay, Vinney. Thank you, Alicia.
God bless.
All right, guys.
God
Thank
bless
you so
both.
much for your time. And guys, this is Syndication Made Easy with Vinney Chopra. Until next time.
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to VinneyChopra.com or texting the word syndication to 474747. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.